So, Phil, what can authorities learn from this video? And I suspect there's probably going to be a lot more video they'll be reviewing.
Sure. I mean, you've got to look at the forensics from that. For example, the shells that were shot in that environment, what weapon they picked up there. But there's a broader question I'd be asking seeing that video, and it's something the FBI spoke about today with the sheriff's office, and that is motive. Somebody walked in rapidly to a dark environment, looked like they shot indiscriminately, and they shot a lot of rounds quickly. If you're looking to the motivation of that individual, that tells me obviously the individual wasn't picking out targets. Why did they select the location if we can presume they didn't select the individuals to hit? I think I looked at that video and took away that this is somebody who wanted to just go in and shoot as many people as he could without trying to determine who they were in the first place. The other thing I took away is just to spend a moment of silence saying, thank God there's a law enforcement officer who went into a dark environment not knowing who would find in there. I mean, that obviously not a well-lighted situation, and sacrificed his life to go into a place that a lot of us, me included, I'm not sure I'd have the courage to do that. Incredible courage.
A situation, of course, where we're concerned. The killer, Ian David Long, 28, was a former machine gunner, an Afghanistan war veteran, and was interviewed by police at his home last spring after an episode of agitated behavior that authorities were told might be post-traumatic stress disorder. He was, as I said, in the Marines from 2008 to 2013, rose to the rank of corporal, and served in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2011 before he was honorably discharged, according to the military. Court records show he was married in 2009 and divorced in 2013. Who wants to talk about that? The PTSD situation, is that what it is? Do we know?
We don't know for sure yet,
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's definitely when you have, once again, the same story we hear over and over again, multiple tours of duty for our the soldiers going overseas, and then they come back with a lot of issues that aren't resolved, and then you have situations where they're not socialized back into society, and then you have law enforcement dropping the ball because when the person is showing you signs that something is not right, nobody acts on it.
Well, the problem with this one, ladies and gentlemen, is that authorities said he had no criminal record, but in April, officers were called to his home where deputies found him angry and acting irrationally. But the sheriff said officers were told he might have PTSD because of his military service, and then a mental health specialist met with him and didn't feel that he needed to be hospitalized. So here's somebody that they thought may have had this problem, but notwithstanding that fact, they said, no, he's okay.
All right, this is like the third time we've heard the same story, the same scenario.
Yeah.
Someone going into getting help, just like the gentleman who went to Florida from Alaska,
Right.
and shot everybody in the
Right.
Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he saw the FBI and was interviewed and had got health treatment, and they said, oh, this guy's okay. There's nothing wrong with this guy.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
I take a little different take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't defend everybody that commits acts like this. I'm looking at, you know, he served in Afghanistan 2010, 2011. Okay, he rose to the rank. He was in the military for 5 years, it appears. Rose to the rank of corporal, which is not a really high rank after 5 years. I don't, you know, he had this incident. I guess he was married from 2009 to 2013, so he wasn't married during this time that they went to his home. He might have had a problem, but it appears that he wanted to commit suicide.
Yeah, he killed himself.
I mean, he wanted to commit suicide, but why take other people with you if you want to commit suicide? I just can't understand it. He left the military he left the military, what, seven years ago? I mean, he left Afghanistan seven years ago.
But he's had some problems with the house.
But
I just don't. I just, you know, I don't know that he had combat or anything. So he was a machine gunner.
Said a machine gunner.
Yeah, but did he have any combat duty? Just because you're there?
Yeah, Cliff, this is Dr. Arnold.
Yeah,
but,
good.
You know,
Dr. Arnold, thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Go
ahead.
Yeah, calling from
thank you so much.
San Diego.
I didn't know what
the
that was.
American Public Health Association conference.
We wanted you, yes, Dr. Arnold. Thank you. Colonel is a physician who's been in combat. Go right ahead.
Well, you know, one of the things that was disturbing to me is that, we don't have the legal mechanisms in place to actually help someone like that, because they can actually slip right through the system. All he has to do is deny or refuse treatment. His mother said that she was actually trying to get him treatment, and she was concerned about him for some time. And there was one athletic director at his school from high school that said that he had those tendencies before he even went into the military, that he was, pretty aggressive, and they were concerned about the way he was behaving. So mental health actually goes on for a long time in the public eye without anyone saying anything or doing anything about it. And the mechanisms we have in place right now, the legal and the medical mechanisms, both are inadequate, because this guy just slipped right through the cracks, and next thing we know, we have 12 people dead.
Exactly.
But Dr. Arnold, I heard you say that he was experiencing this before the military, so we can't always directly hold the military responsible for PTSD if these people are experiencing these episodes before they go in. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Because mental health is a wide spectrum. Of course, you can induce mental health issues by being in the military and being in combat situations where you will develop post-traumatic stress disorder. But there are also other clues that mental health goes on all the time around us without us doing anything about it or knowing anything about it. My brother actually is a psychiatrist. He just enlightened me about a paper where they found that marijuana actually interacts with some of the genes that actually can turn on things like schizophrenia. So they are doing a lot more research in that area, but there are multiple factors that go into why someone behaves the way they do. And the school system should have caught that a while ago. And if the counselors knew that something was wrong with this guy, and his mother knew, that there should have been a mechanism for him to go down the right track.
Right.
Yeah. I also want to mention that the Honorable Bob Fioretti is with us. He's an attorney, and he's an advisory board member for our group, America's Heroes Group. Bob, it's good to see you, sir.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And I know you got a full
Always
crowd
a
of people
pleasure.
today. Hey, Dr. Arnold, let me ask you a quick question on PTSD. One of the colleagues in the city council developed it years later from the Vietnam War. Is that syndrome something that can happen much later on after some traumatic events and
Sure,
affect you?
most definitely. Most definitely. Its presentation can happen remotely from the situation that you're in. For example, someone may have a really bad experience as a child with heights, and then later on in their life they are challenged with that. They climb a mountain, or they get onto a plane, and all of a sudden this irrational fear comes up. So psychological constructs and things like that can be established remotely from the time period where they actually come into the forefront. And people can harbor them because our bodies naturally try to suppress things. And then all of a sudden there's some kind of situation that makes us open up, and then we actually experience
20, 30 years later, the trauma of being in the war can affect you.
Manifest itself.
Manifest, yes.
correct. Yes. Yes.
Hey, we got an out, guys.
That's right. And I was dropping by, Colonel, just to say hi to everybody, and I know that everybody's got a full plate here today to discuss very important issues, and we got people from all over. And tomorrow is the anniversary of the 100th celebration. I guess we call it a celebration for Veterans Day, when they signed it on November 11th at 11 o'clock in 1918. Yeah. So we need to thank all of our veterans, whoever they are, and help them across the board. See what we can do both on the state level and on the federal level to keep them employed, find jobs for them, find opportunities for them, deal with the mental health for them. As you and I have had these discussions, and everybody in this room, we've all had these discussions. And when I had job fairs just for veterans, I have to hand it to Cliff. One day I was on a show, and we had several hundred people show up the following day. And I remember one guy who who was a veteran, he got a job, got very promoted. But every time I would see him on the street, he would cry, thanking me for, and really because I think it was because of you, Cliff, that got the word out, and I tried getting the word out as much as I could. But
Yeah, you did a great job,
so
too. Yeah, that's wonderful.
yes, and we need to continue that.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's some celebration in Paris.
Yes,
And I understand that Trump was there but did not go.
right. I
Go to
know.
the cemetery.
Yeah, the
Well,
cemetery,
you know,
right.
he took enough
Yeah, right.
deferments.
Well, bone spurs, you know, hey, that's serious.
That's it.
But let me tell you, you don't have to be in combat to have PTSD, because I think that's his problem.
Right.
You know?
Well, anyway, but no, I do want to I do want to thank everybody for America's Heroes, because I think you've been making the point, and this show makes the point, and it gets out, because really this is the only show on the airwaves that try to enlist our veterans, try to tell families to tell their veterans on what to do, to how to get help, to help find places to go for that help. And this group is making an incredible impact on our community.
And we
I wanna thank you.
we do so with people such as yourself, with your being an advisory board member, Bob Fioretti.
Always
Yeah.
always there for you.
Yeah,
got
without
it.
without people like yourself, we couldn't do it. And
Right.
I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.